All right, guys, we're here with Coach Lee. Let's go. It's one of his newest videos.
This is Coach Lee, and I'm going to answer the question, when does the breakup hit the dumper? As you might imagine, the experiences are very different, as you have probably noticed, in that your ex may seem cold or even cruel, as though they don't understand what is actually happening and what they are actually doing. I'm going to explain why that looks that way and what can be done about it, and when the breakup actually hits them. So the first thing that you need to understand is that the timing is different. And what I mean by that is that your ex has been planning this. 95% chance this has been planned for weeks, months, or even years. They've been thinking about wanting to get away from you.
100% facts. Okay. See, fellas, if you look back and you actually think back to the beginning of the end, sort of, you're actually going to see their emotional distance begin. They'll take longer to respond. Sex will happen less. They'll be less interested in it. They're less interested in the idea of keeping you attracted to them. See, sometimes women will actually break up with you by separating so much that you begin to want to break up with them because they're too pussy to do it, right? But when you look back without emotion, right? Because it's very difficult to do when you're emotional. Women want you to know that they are interested in you when they care about that. But when they've been planning it because there's maybe too much negativity, too much complacency, too much insecurity, whatever, right? Another guy, it could be whatever. They will start to separate and distance themselves from you. Okay? It happens all the time. So that's 100% true right there.
Wanting a breakup, and they have maybe talked to you about it, even if you didn't know they did. They've mentioned things. It's come up in arguments, and they have gone back and forth in their mind about breaking up with you. Do they want this? And so at the breakup event, the announcement, when they tell you, a lot of people talk about how this person seems cold and unfazed by the response to the breakup. So for example, if they break up with you and you say, but I love you, but we can work this out, but why are you just giving up? And it's as though the other person has already had this conversation with you, and as though it's fairly easy for them, or at least they already know their answers. And their response emotionally seems much different than yours to this conversation as well. And that's because they've already had this discussion in their own mind. And in many ways, they are simply numb to it. And they are ready to get into that relief stage that I talk about in my video, right. Stages your ex goes through during no contact. And they're not thinking, I want to get to the relief stage. They're simply thinking that it would feel better to get this over with, to move on with their life, and to be with someone else. And yes, even though your ex may say, I don't want to be with anybody right now, it's not true. It's something they say to keep you from getting upset that they plan to be with someone else or that there's someone else already. So that's just an empty excuse. I promise you, no matter how much your ex insists that they don't want to be with anybody right now, that they're not ready to be in a relationship right now, it's just a matter of time, because humans were created to be in relationships, and people don't just sit around single on purpose. Your ex might tell you that, but it's just not true.
They just don't want to hurt you. That's why it takes them so long to even communicate with you in any kind of warm way, because they don't want to give you any kind of mixed signals. They know that if you give you mixed signals, that you're going to want to get closer to them, right? Because they dumped you. Again, they have that dumper's confidence. I got to come up with a better term than that, but they have confidence because they're the ones who left you. They know that you want to continue to be with them. They know that you love them. So getting through that, right? If they're warm to you, they know that you're going to continue to be in their presence or want to be. And like Aaron Dowdy says, you have to take your energy back. You have to put your energy back onto yourself and put it back onto your goals and your mission and what you're doing, staying focused as a man. And that is one of the hardest things to do when you're in an emotional state, right? So watching these videos, for example, can keep you there, which is why there is going to be a point when you have to stop watching the videos and start focusing on your mission, right? I tell you guys every single time, be mission focused, be mission focused, be mission focused. But here's what I do understand. There are people that feel zero support through their breakups. So they just watch the videos because it makes them feel a little bit better. But eventually you're going to have to go, you know what? It's time. Somebody made a comment about that in my video yesterday or today. I don't know what day, whenever this video comes out. And they said that you have to stop watching the videos. And it's sort of true. It's sort of true because eventually, and this actually happens naturally, as you get over your breakup, you will stop watching these videos eventually. But that's the point, right? It is all about you and about your growth. But you have to get there emotionally, and everyone gets there at a different place. So looking back in hindsight, you can actually see when how all this works and when the mistakes that you made. So it's about fixing those mistakes, right? Anyway, let's continue.
They either plan to be with someone else or someone else is already there. So I don't say that to upset you, but I want you to know what you're up against in terms of their plans. So they are trying to move forward at this point. They have control of the situation. They're announcing to you what the future of the relationship is because they have total control.
And honestly, guys, a woman is going to, like, over 90% of the time have another person lined up. Okay? It's not always planned that way. It sort of happens depending on how good looking the woman is and how open she is to talking to other people online and shit like that. But a woman's going to have a backup, a replacement, somebody else that's there, because women really do not like to be single for very long. I promise you. They want to have attention, and validation is something that if you ask a woman who's lonely isn't getting attention. Okay. Men want attention too, but we can go a lot longer without it. And we sort of get used to doing it. To not having attention from the opposite sex. But because, to be honest with you, most men are completely lonely. They don't have women coming after them. That is most men. Okay. A lot of women will still have someone that wants them, someone that will give attention to them, someone that will pay attention to them because they're a woman, because they have some beauty, right? Good looks, whatever it is. So you can bet that woman is going to have someone else lined up. Men do it too, of course, but again, women usually they don't want to be alone for a long time. That's really what it comes down to. So they're going to have someone that's going to give them attention, and they might date them, they might not. They might have another person. They start going out, they start experiencing life, right? And when that happens, guys, you still have to remain on the no contact train. You have to basically go, okay, I'm going to work on myself. I'm going to hit the gym. So smashing the gym is probably the most important piece of advice I ever got when I was going through my breakups, and focusing on money, right? Because here's the thing, nobody can take those things from you. When you build a great body, no one can take that from you except yourself, right? Building a great financial structure in your life as a man, no one can take that from you. Well, an ex-wife can, but once you have the skill, you can build money anywhere, right? You just have to know marketing. You have to have a good product. You have to know what people want, right? But you can build money. You can build wealth anytime if you know the skills, especially if you get into investing. So when you're going through a breakup and she's possibly dating other people, don't worry about it. I know it hurts. I know it sucks. Like Coach Lee here is saying, it sucks, but you have to continue to just lick your wounds, smash the gym, learn about attraction skills, and make money. Okay. These are the most important things you can do because they're going to raise your value as a man. By the time you're done, right? Say it takes you 4 months to get over it. I know many of you, it takes longer. Some of you, it's shorter. For my long relationships that were past 2 years, 3 years, took me about 3 or 4 months to really get over it. That was with heavy grieving too. That was like, I was crying. Not going to lie to you guys. I was crying, right? But I wasn't crying to anybody. I was crying on my own. And it's natural. It's normal. Anybody who tells you otherwise is a fucking robot. So, at the end of the day, once I got over it, that's what I did. And guess what? Those girls tried coming back. So, and I was just more like, no, like, you know what? I don't want this. Okay. So make sure you guys are following my Red Pill channel. It's going to be in the description box down below and in the pinned comments as well, where we talk a lot more about growth as a man. Okay. So check that out, subscribe and like it, but let's go.
They have total power in the situation. You don't get a say. They just get to say whether the relationship continues or ends, and you just have to sit and be informed. And so you are shocked. It's a completely different response because you didn't know this was coming, at least to this degree, at least to such an extreme degree that this person wants to end the relationship. That wasn't what you were thinking. Maybe you two need to work on some things. You probably knew that. But for this to happen is a shock to you, and it's control for them because they are doing it, they planned it, and they have intention behind doing this to go to something else. And so it's a very different experience, and the timing is very different for each of you because you haven't had time to process any of this. Before I get to the second thing I want to talk to you about, take a quick second and subscribe to this channel so you can be notified when I have more videos like this. Just hit that subscribe button to my channel here on YouTube. So I want to talk more about control versus loss. The connection that you two had is already lost for the dumper in large part. Now there's still some baseline, foundational connection there that will always be there. that's actually very psychologically sound for me to say that, is that the connection you two have to some degree will always exist if you were in a relationship with them. But at the moment, feelings have faded. They may have even said something like that. And it simply means that attraction has fallen.
Right.
It could be because of continuing arguments and fights.
Like, it's always negativity, right? Negative emotions built up over time. It's like a pool. I talk to my students about this, but you have an emotional, think of a swimming pool, right? The higher it is, the more full it is, the worse off it is. So some people in this world are built with very big, vast pools, okay? And some people have smaller pools, so they get overwhelmed a lot easier. It really depends on the person. But generally speaking, humans have decent sized swimming pools for their emotions, okay? I know it's a cheesy analogy, but just run with it. So the more full it is. So there are going to be things in life that add to that pool being there. Sorry, the water being there in the pool. So it could be, say it's a dude with a bucket. It could be financial stress, okay? That's one. Family problems, that's another. Past traumas that you haven't let go of that are just adding more and more water. But what does every pool have? A drain. So that's our natural processing of emotions that we all have as humans, and we just need time to get over things. Well, a breakup is like taking a gigantic fire hose and just filling it up as fast as you can, and you're just going to get to that tipping point. And that's what happens when the water overflows. That's when you have anxiety attacks. That's when you have issues with your body, and like you'll start feeling like crap, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's why smashing the gym is important. That's why working on your finances and working on your attraction skills and working on understanding women is important. Because when you do that, fellas, you're going to start adding more drains to your pool. The stress will also start to disappear. The water will stop coming into the pool, but you're also expanding your own. Maybe the drain gets bigger. That's probably a better analogy instead of adding more. The drain itself gets bigger and can process more water. So you just basically, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? But I wanted to come up with like a visual representation. So if you think about it that way, you can go, okay, the people who are not getting over relationships, that water isn't going anywhere in the pool. Okay. So when you think of it like that, you're like, okay, so I'm not processing enough. Okay. So the constant fights and arguments, like he's saying here, it's like that when you're in a relationship and the girl gets to that point, and because she has an individual life over here, right? And then there's you. Her individual life includes her family, school, work, whatever. Because girls these days are girl bosses, right? And they fucking work on their shit. Well, there's a whole opinion about that, but and again, I don't want it to sound like I'm against it, because I'm not. It's just like women are going to have to start to choose between a career and a family, because men don't want masculine energy in the house. Too much masculine energy in a household creates butting heads, right? Because men naturally just are in their masculine, right? And women are naturally supposed to be in their feminine. But what's happening today is, there's a lot of girl bosses going on. And so you're going to have a lot of, entrepreneurial women, and that's completely fine. But they also all have to realize that eventually, when you get to a certain age, men aren't looking for those kinds of women. And a lot of girls will lie to themselves, and they'll put themselves on TikTok and say men are shit, or men don't want this, or men are very simple. We just want feminine women. That's it. Feminine women, right? So are you easy to get along with? Are you cool? That's really all we're looking for. I know it's very general, but that's a whole video, right? So eventually, when that, going back to the topic at hand, when that emotional pool gets too full, something's got to go, right? And it's going to be you. She's not going to give up her career because that's what pays her bills. She's not going to give up her family because she loves her family. So you have to make a choice. Okay. You're going to have to go, all right. She's going to have to make a choice. She's going to go, okay, well, the one thing that's got to give, that's adding more stress to my life, that's a bucket of water into my pool every day, is this guy. Okay. So I'm coaching a guy right now, and I'm not going to reveal it too much, but the woman is dealing with a lot in her life. Okay. A lot. And there's no room for him. And he's like, where do I fit? What do I do? How do I do this? I'm like, dude, she needs to be alone. She just needs to be alone. There's no room for you right now. Okay. And this is where women will say, I can't have a relationship right now. And in her situation, I think that having a relationship is probably the last thing that is truly on her mind. I know most of you are probably going like, yeah, right. But no, I'm dead serious. Like, hearing what he told me, she needs to deal with a lot of individual life shit first. And most men watch me, right? Not most men. The people who watch me are mostly men. So you guys understand, when you are low on finances, when you aren't feeling good about life, a relationship is not really something we're really looking for. We'll do it, right? But we're like, I'd rather be in this place in my life versus this place, right? I'd rather be here than here. So sometimes men will just not date until they get to a certain place, or they'll break up with a girl sometimes because they're like, yo, I'm not bringing enough to the table. Some guys don't give a fuck at all, and they'll stay with a girl. But I feel like Coach Lee's just staring at me right now, judging me severely. Again, the emotional pool analogy, it just comes back to, are you giving or taking away water? Okay. And that's really what it comes down to. And if you're not, they're going to kick you out.
It could be because the relationship being boring for so long and them feeling like they were the only ones contributing, or neither of you were contributing and they just blamed it all on you. Or that physically you have changed and over time they just feel less attraction, and it affected them emotionally as well because maybe there wasn't any connection emotionally that could thrive going forward. It wasn't strong like it used to be, or it wasn't strong enough. Attraction is both emotional and physical. And if you don't have much with either, then there's no motivation. Attraction is motivation in the situation. And so whereas this information is new and shocking to you most likely, at least to enough degree that they would break up with you, your ex has already gone over this and decided to do this. And so it's an easier acceptance for them, and it's something they want to get over with and just move on. But you feel shocked and you propose to them, let's work on this. This is what we're supposed to do in a relationship, is work through these things. In the mind of this person who is now your ex, they have already done that. Even if you didn't know they were doing it, they could be doing it by trying different things, trying to revive their feelings, giving it another week, giving it another month. And they feel worn down and that there's nothing remaining for them anymore.
And it all happened when you thought everything was cool, which sucks. And a lot of guys get mad about that. They're like, why didn't she tell me when? Okay. And in one hand, I have an agreement about that, and women should be more open about it, but they don't want to hurt your feelings, etc. Right. And on the other hand, I'm like, guys, we need to level up and know. We need to know. See, I got to the point now where I understand attraction so well that I know when my woman is not at peak attraction anymore. So let's say it's 96 all the time. Okay. That's as high as it can ever get for her towards me. When it's under 90, I can tell. It's subtle behavioral changes. Sometimes it is just maybe a period, right? Sometimes it's just like, emotional stuff that she's going through, whatever. But I can tell when it drops even a little. And from there, I have a diagnosis, right? I have like a step 1, 2, 3, and 4. And sometimes, guys, I even fuck it up, okay? And it's because we're human, right? But sometimes you're like, I just don't. It can be a lot of effort dealing with emotional women. Okay, yes, all women are emotional. Okay, yes, but some women are far more emotional, and they're carrying around shit than others. And if you choose to date one, you just have to know how to handle it correctly and have the right equipment mentally, right? So that's where that comes in. So at the end of the day, if you're going to be dealing with a woman, you have to have the right framework and the right skills, knowledge, mindset, know-how, etc. And that's what going through a breakup is going to teach you. You just have to do the work. But a lot of guys don't really want to do the work. They just want to, live the fantasy shit that they've been sold in their whole life and not learn about the red pill shit that they need to know. I'm not saying you have to be bitter. See, there's a negative connotation attached to the red pill that they're bitter. There are bitter red pill guys. There definitely are, because they're angry about what they went through. They're angry that women are the way they are. But being angry about it is one thing, and doing something about it's another. And I'm on the other side of let's do something about it, which is just learn. Okay, women are a certain way. You ain't gonna change them. Now, the issue comes in is what's happening now with modern day feminism and the hatred towards men that a lot of women have. That's creating a certain mindset in the dating community. So again, men, you're going to have to adjust and adapt. But bitching about it doesn't do anything, okay? It's like me. It's like if I was bitching about being overweight or underweight, right? Do something about it. Like, that's the thing about being a guy. We just do shit. So anyway, I'm done ranting.
So there's no motivation to pull them back. Nothing that makes them want to keep working on it. And so people will sometimes say in the comments, well, that's not love if they won't even work on it. That's true. They don't feel the same love they felt for you anymore. That's what I mean when I say attraction has fallen. They love you most likely in a general sense. Like I love humanity. I see a stranger who's hurting and I want to help them in some way if I can.
I love you, but I'm not in love with you.
And they don't see you as a stranger, but they have that general love for you. And that's possibly also a deep friendship with you, but they want the romantic passion and that motivating attraction that they don't feel anymore. And you still feel that. So you're still willing to work. And so that's why it just seems like you two don't understand each other at all and that you were in entirely different circumstances. And that brings me to number 3. Motivation comes from value and loss. In this case, it's potential loss for their side. They don't feel that. You feel loss. That's why your ex's value has skyrocketed and you feel like you would do anything to get this relationship back. But just yesterday, if you didn't know the breakup was coming, you didn't feel that same intensity and that same sense of urgency. That's because loss was not introduced into the situation. I talk about this a lot in my emergency breakup kit and how to help your ex or soon-to-be ex to actually feel the risk of loss that they could be losing you.
So I want to also touch base on that as well. When someone is about to really lose you, they really do, like, when someone breaks up with you, they don't really experience the actual loss until you're pretty much over the relationship. Now, I'm writing a book right now. I started it a while ago, but it's not actually in a format of chapter 1, chapter 2. It's more like just my thoughts about things. And basically, it's like it talks about this kind of stuff, right? So if somebody has a sense of loss, if somebody, just understands that you're a man of value, it's literally probably going to be called masculine thoughts. And basically it just goes about the idea of what you should do when you're dealing with people who just don't really care about. That's not what the book is about. This is going to be a part of it, but people who don't care about having you around, right? So what do you do? And it does lead down. Here's the downside to all of that is it does lead down a lonely road, because you're going to start getting rid of people who maybe they shouldn't be there, but since there's still people, you still have some sort of social interaction, right? But maybe they don't really deserve to be there anymore. Maybe it's better off to let them go, right? So this could be an ex too. So.
And how valuable that is during a breakup. And it's not because you're trying to manipulate them, but if they break up with you, they will lose you. That's what they have to know. And the dumper does not quite grasp that at the moment, mostly because it's not valuable enough in their mind for them to fear or even consider that they could lose it. They feel like that the value that they see in you and the relationship with you is lower. And so if they ever wanted it, they could get it back because they see themselves as high value. And
right.
So it would be a no-brainer for you. Of course, they could just say, oh, by the way, hey, let's get back together. They feel like they just made your life, that it's like Christmas times 100, and that you would just jump at that at any point going into the future indefinitely. And I'm not.
That's Dumper's confidence, basically, is what I said earlier. He just put it much more eloquently than I did.
Exaggerating. If I am, it's not by much. That's what they feel, even if they don't put that into words. Here's an example. If right now, my car that's in the garage suddenly had its engine start, since it's not me, I know there's a problem. And because I value my car, there would be an immediate sense of loss to connect to that value. And I would jump up and I'd run outside and try to figure out what's going on and try to save my car, because something valuable to me is at great risk. Obviously, a relationship with a person is far more valuable, but it's a point to help you understand what's going on. At the moment, your ex does not see much value and they don't see the risk of loss, so they have neither. Because if it's something you don't value and you could lose it, it's not a super big deal to you. In some cases, it may not matter at all. And so you have to have value. But if you just value it and it's safe in your garage, you can start taking it for granted, like a car in the garage. We're not constantly opening the door and checking on it. We just assume it'll be all right. It's when the risk of loss comes in that all of a sudden the value goes up, and the fear of loss exists to motivate us to be urgent, to do whatever we have to do to protect it. And so the fear, the concern of loss actually raises its perceived value. And that's why you can't just talk to your ex about it. Have a good little talk and they'll want to come back and be motivated to work on everything. It's because motivation is actually not there. They don't feel as physically or emotionally attracted to you as they once were. Emotional loss of attraction will also erode physical attraction, though usually not to the same degree. And so if there's nothing pulling them towards you, then there's nothing motivating them to work on the relationship, because they don't value it enough and they don't fear losing it, because at the moment they assume, since they're dumping you, that they could get you back whenever they wanted you. It would simply be their decision because they feel they have all the power. And this is why it's so important that your ex must feel the loss. And people will try to argue with me about that in the comments. And they'll just say, well, people should be mature and they should just talk it out and they should not play mind games trying to hurt the other person.
Yeah. Do we live in that kind of world? Look at politics. Like, that's just one place where, it's like, what?
Manipulate them. And that's not what I'm suggesting at all. When someone wants to break up with you and when someone wants you out of their life, it's a mature thing to give that to them because you don't want to be where you're not wanted. You don't want to force yourself on someone. That doesn't make any sense from a mature interpersonal standpoint. And that is your only hope of them feeling lost, is that you stay away so they can see that you can stay away, because that implies you could also move on. And that's when it can actually jar them, so to speak, where they start to think about the beginning of the relationship when they were attracted to you emotionally and physically, at least a lot more so. And that can trigger a chain of events in their mind to where they think, I was attracted to them and someone else might find them attractive. That's where there's some loss. Now, it takes more than that. It's not just, I don't want to lose you, so let's get back together. That is an important part of it. Don't cheapen that. But obviously, you also want them to see you as valuable like they used to in terms of wanting to be in a relationship with you, feeling attraction towards you. You want both. But it starts with them actually feeling the loss, because that's when they actually have to look at it and see if they want to lose it or if they could stand losing it. And before, when they break up with you, they don't feel that because they're in control. They're not losing it. You only lose something when it's out of your control, like you don't know where you placed it and you can't just access it, or when it's taken from you. And so when they feel in control, they don't feel like they could lose you. They feel like that they are choosing to put you in another place, and if they ever want you, they could get you back. But when it's out of their control, that's when they actually have to take a true assessment of their feelings, and they look back at things, and a lot of times they can reconsider, and they can come to their senses and stop taking you for granted. That's how it works, and that's how it should work with most relationships. If someone does not want you in their life, you don't just pester and insist on being there. You have to let them make that decision for themselves.
That's something I learned from Corey Wayne. I learned, don't go where you're not appreciated or wanted. And I learned that, I think, over maybe it was 10 years ago at this point. Maybe 9 years ago. I don't know, something like that. I'm 32. I think I started watching Corey Wayne stuff when I was like, I want to say 22, maybe 21. But I can't have his videos been out that long? Damn. Doc Love, I watched him too. Okay, anyway, it doesn't really fucking matter. I learned that from Corey Wayne. And so the cool thing is, when you start acting that way, you're going to actually start attracting people into your life that don't want to leave. You'll find less of them, sure. It's kind of like, anything that's good and hard. Like, finding a really good friend is hard to find. Okay? It really is. There's so many snaky people, especially fucking men. There are so many snaky fucking men that would fuck your girlfriend behind your back if they had a chance to, and they would, if they were guaranteed that they would never get caught, they would do it. And that's, and you never know until you know, right? So, but at the end of the day, the only person that you can truly trust is yourself. And that's why developing yourself and loving yourself, as corny as it all sounds, is important, right? A lot of people, hear that kind of stuff and they're like, oh, that's not corny, or that's not this, that's not that. It sounds corny to most people because they're not living that kind of improvement lifestyle. And usually a breakup will start to push people in that direction. So that's it for this video. I know there's a little bit left over, but you guys can go watch if you want to. You guys know who Coach Lee is. So I hope you guys liked it. I know I ranted a little bit a couple of times, but it is what it is. I mean, there are certain things that you can't lie about anymore in this fucking life, in this world. And if you want to be in a good place in life, you really do have to put work in. It's inevitable. Some people have a different, upbringing, different life. So they might have different access to different things, which gives them a leg up, or maybe they have a worse hand, but you got to just do you and work on yourself. Done.